things they do, then say they don't. I got tired.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Delirium coming at you with the first tier ranking list on the channel. We got my boy Matt with me today. Matt, say hey.
Hello.
And we decided we were going to do our first tier list. We both love Marvel movies, and we decided to rank every Marvel movie that they've put out so far. So if you like these kind of videos and you're new to the channel, go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll get right into it.
If you don't, well then sorry.
Alrighty, so the first movie that they have on here is the first Avengers movie. Now, I kind of have an idea of what I would say, but Matt, where would you put this? Because we got best, good, likable, not okay, dumb, and what? So what would you say? We can go back afterwards and we can rearrange it if we want, but
I must say good,
okay.
because it is a classic. It was like, where it all started,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like bringing everybody together. So the whole thing built up to that. Thought it could be better.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the Hulk moment with Loki was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna say the best. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say the best.
See, I was thinking good as well, just because it had so much hype to live up to, even at that time, with it
Mhm.
being the first really, like, trying to live up to some of the other superhero movies that they had come out with at that time, and everyone thought it was going to flop from what I've read and saw and everything, so I would say the first Avengers does go into the good tier. Now, next we have the original Hulk movie. And I think I know where this goes, but
Now, okay. Is this the Eric Bana version, where at the end he's like, "You won't like me when I'm angry," or is this like the first Edward Norton one?
I believe this is the first Edward Norton one.
All right, both of them are the same answer. What?
I was thinking I was gonna give it a little credit being dumb, but I think what is the correct area to throw it into? And then
'Cause
yeah.
Hulk versus the Abomination. Like,
Oh
let's be
Ugh.
real. Like, no one knew that it was called Abomination, so
yeah.
that's the first thing.
And of course we can't be like judge movies based on they did the best they could CGI wise back then. But even for back then it was so bad. The
Oh, yeah.
CGI was so bad.
Like, there's a reason Edward Norton's not the Hulk anymore.
Yeah, which I think Mark Ruffalo was a better Hulk anyway. So
I agree.
So it's Captain America, the First Avenger. Now, this one I haven't seen in a good amount of time, but
Good. Good.
I was
Good.
thinking likable, but granted,
Nah.
granted,
good.
it's been a little while, so it's probably closer to good. But we can go back and
Yeah,
rearrange
'cause-
some of them here near the end.
Just say good because I'm being nice because, like, I don't know, the Red Skull was good. I mean, it was just good.
It was solid. It was solid. Iron Man 2, which, personally, I think it's the weakest of the Iron Man movies.
Okay, I don't agree with you there. That's when they brought in Scarlett Johansson. So
True.
that has some likable moments.
That does have some likable moments, but personally, we'll get to it here in a little bit, but 1 and 3 I think are better than this as Iron Man 2, but
I'm not gonna lie, I thought 3 was hot garbage, but that's
really,
and I'm an Iron Man
I was gonna say,
fan.
but I would throw, where'd it go? Iron Man 2 into likable, because the Iron Man movies are good, but out of the 3 I think it's the weakest, but it's not a bad movie by any means.
I'm gonna say likable. I'll say
Likable? Okay.
Yeah, I'll say likable.
Now we get into Avengers Infinity War, which,
I skipped all over the place.
yeah, they're kind of all over the place. Do you want to go closer in order? We'll save
No.
like Infinity War or something for last.
No.
Okay.
We're good. So, Infinity War. What's your take?
I would have to say it's just for pure shock factor, and at that point it was I think Marvel was at its high until Endgame came out, and then somehow it just breached that ceiling somehow. But I would say we put it at the top of good, the very top, ahead of Avengers and Captain America. the first one, because there's
Okay,
an
I
argument
guess
for
I
best.
agree.
There's an argument for best, but
Okay, I agree with it. Other than like you say shock factor, but everybody like if you know the Infinity Gauntlet whole story,
mhm,
you kind of saw it coming. No, the death was a lot different than what it was in the comics. I
mhm.
mean, I think kind of, but it came out with some of the best memes with I don't feel so good. Even though I can't believe
Yeah,
they did my boy Spider-Man dirty like that.
I was about to say,
Um,
yeah,
so I agree, like on the top end of good so far.
yeah, because I mean, I also don't want to throw stuff into best like willy nilly because I feel like that needs to
Right.
be the undisputed top tier. Why is this? Okay, there it is. And now we go to Black Panther, which I've seen a lot of back and forth on this. Some people say it's amazing, some people say it's hot garbage. I'm
I'm gonna
mm,
go with the side of I've never seen it.
You've never seen Black Panther.
Never seen Black Panther. I know. I've
That
seen
is
all the other
crazy to
movies,
me.
but never seen Black Panther. And yes, I had Netflix. And yes, I have Disney Plus, but I just have never wanted to watch Black Panther. I don't know.
It's a good story, but this was my biggest issue with it. Killmonger at many times in this movie seemed 10 times stronger in Black Panther. So as the beginning origin, no, not origin story. Is it an origin story? Kind of. The first solo movie for him, I feel like he needed to come out looking a lot better. At the end of that
Okay.
movie, I really thought, I was like, wow, I really think Killmonger was way stronger than him and way better. He just had bad intentions. And it didn't make me feel like Black Panther was that, like, on the same level, even though in the comics and a lot of the stuff, he is the exact same level. The movie
Yeah.
just didn't make me feel that watching it, which was really sad because I was really excited for it. Not saying it was a bad movie, but
Right.
I feel like they could have done a way better job making him feel more important like the character he is, because it is a really important character in the grand scheme of Marvel.
Yeah.
So for that, I was thinking, I don't want to put it in not okay, because overall it was good, but we'll put it behind Iron Man 2 when it comes to likable. Maybe even above Iron Man 2. We'll see when we kind of go back through.
That's fine. I'm going with you on this one. Like I said, haven't seen it.
Now we go into Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which,
All right.
yeah,
All right. I love that movie.
mhm,
Full on spy movie meets superhero.
mhm.
You're not. This is controversy here. Think it's better than the Infinity War. This is just me.
I, you know,
I liked it that much.
I hold Infinity War very highly, and I don't disagree with you. It did such a good job with everything within the movie. Granted, it's been a few years since I've seen it. Well, no, I watched it before Endgame came back. I went and watched all of them again. But Winter Soldier is one of the ones that I would throw it into best tier.
Yeah,
I
hands
don't
down.
think there's a ton of people that would disagree with that. If so, say your argument in the comments, because I've really never heard a bad thing about this movie from anyone I've talked to. Next we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, which E.
All right. So another funny thing.
Haven't seen this one?
I don't think I've seen all of it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a testament to why it should be in the dumb category, because it's it did not do a good job catching up with how Ant-Man the first one did, which Ant-Man the first one wasn't an incredible movie, but it wasn't bad. But this one,
Right.
it didn't pull a Guardians of the Galaxy. It didn't improve with the second movie, which, a little spoiler for later in the list. But yeah, I feel like dumb is a good one for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, I'll go with that one because the little bit. I mean, can't believe I'm saying Paul Rudd's gonna be in the dumb category.
I know, Paul Rudd's so good. Next we have, this is gonna be mine that I'm gonna probably get some hate for, Thor Ragnarok.
Best.
Thank you.
I was
That
waiting
is
for this one.
it's got to be behind Captain America though. I feel like
Ah,
they're like neck and neck. We can
yeah,
you can make the argument for either, but I think
yeah.
Thor Ragnarok got so much hate, but it was so good. That
It
it
was
was the
so
perfect
good.
mixture of comedy and realism that Thor character traditionally is, but it just kind of
Yeah,
got
I mean,
lost.
because I feel like the Marvel movies were hitting a stale note
Mhm.
until then, and then like they're just like we're gonna try something new
Mhm.
because the second Thor movie, Dark World. I mean, I'll
Eh,
say what I want to say about that later,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
like I just feel like it was the make or break it mode for that,
Mhm.
and I feel like that is what set his character up
Mhm.
for the future.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
I
I
understand.
yeah.
I understand. It was like you said, it was a make or break moment, and they hit it out of the park. Like it was just, just from the soundtrack of it, the graphics, the narrative of it, having that moment of Mjolnir getting destroyed. It's like, what does this character do now? Because a lot of people that I've talked to were like, yeah, Mjolnir is really the only thing that makes Thor important. And I was like, wait a second, he has more to him than just the hammer. And
Right.
I feel like that movie did a really good job at singling out that issue and showing he's more than just that. So best tier for that we can talk about a little later for the Captain America Winter Soldier and that.
Hmm.
Next, undoubtedly my number one. It's not getting topped. Endgame, and that it may be recency bias. Call it what it is. That what it had to live up to, it was just insane. All of
For
the
what has been listed so far, I will agree with you.
yes.
But
Oh, here's the big but.
we'll see in the later on in this list.
Yeah, yes, because I just think a testament to the Russo brothers having what was it 22 movies to come together,
Yeah.
give it a definitive ending, give it a definitive just making as many people happy as possible, because with movies you're never going to make everyone happy. Everyone's going to be mad about one
Right.
thing, happy with the other. I think with everything they had to live up to, the benchmarks, the hype, all of that, it did the best it possibly could with making the most amount of people happy. Of course, like I said, some people are still not going to like it, but
Right.
it did the very best it could for all the circumstances.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which personally is my favorite of the two. I think 2 was a lot better than 1. But
I don't. I don't agree.
you don't agree. Interesting.
No,
Interesting.
I don't agree for the whole reasoning of like I know what they were trying to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I had some funny moments in it, but I felt like I loved the first one so much
It
that it couldn't live up.
that makes sense. It makes sense.
I mean, the first one from the music alone are like
Oh yeah.
so many songs that I listen to on a daily.
Mm-hmm.
Helps that I work, with the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
But
True.
but so like that's where, definitely I would I would say the first one's better,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I'd say this is definitely a good tier.
Oh yeah. I would say it's
Not
good tier.
yeah, not a best,
Now, would it be
but
above the first Captain America?
yes.
It would be above it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
would say.
wouldn't argue too much with you on that. Is it better than the first Avengers movie? Because
Mm,
I think it's good between the Avengers movie and Captain.
yeah,
I
I
feel
think
like it's a good
that's
spot in
spot
between.
for it.
I feel like it's a good
I
spot.
think- yeah, I think that's a good spot.
And then now, so this one is the first Thor movie, and it was. I want to either put it personally either at the end of likable or be the first one and not okay, because
It's likable.
It's-
I mean,
it's likable,
Loki's funny.
which like you said, it was kind of a make or break because personally, I think the first Thor was it was okay. The second one,
Yeah.
it was a downhill. So, like you said, it
Yeah.
was a make or break with the third one.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't say it's not.
it's
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
it's
at the
that
end
borderline between.
yeah.
So we can throw it
It's
at
like the whole like Loki. Now, granted, if I'm remembering the right movie,
Mhm.
the whole Loki like acting like the different members of the Avengers. That part's funny.
Yeah, I
If that's that movie.
I believe it is. I believe it is. But let's throw it in the end of likable, and then we can.
Mhm.
Now we
Okay.
get to Doctor Strange, which this is the one I think I fell asleep watching. Not saying it was a bad movie, but it was like 2 in the morning that I was watching it. Which I got the
Not
gist
that
of
I
it.
didn't like it.
It was 2 in the morning. But Doctor Strange, I think it did really. It was a solid movie, but I think it's one of the middle tiers.
It's
I
a middle tier. I feel like for those who are diehard Doctor Strange fans,
mm-hmm,
it was great.
mm-hmm.
I think those who are like, I'm a Marvel movie fan, they're gonna be like, what?
Yeah, it is a weird concept for people that aren't big into the comics.
Yeah, and stuff like people don't probably realize the importance of Dormammu
Mm-hmm.
in it. They probably just like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
what happened?
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like it's a middle tier just because of it. I mean, who it is.
Yeah. So we can throw it at. Is it above the first Thor? I would assume.
Oh yeah,
Okay. 'Cause
yeah,
I still think Black Panther's just a notch above it.
yeah.
So we
I
can
mean,
throw
I
it in
guess-
between.
I guess I haven't seen it, so sure.
Yeah. Now we get into the first Iron Man movie.
All right,
You're about to go in, aren't you?
because this is where it started, and I remember this was my freshman year at high school,
Oh,
and I
you're
remember
dating yourself there,
leaving-
bud.
I know. I leave baseball
Mhm.
because I hated the coach. I'll say that on YouTube. I don't care. But went and watched the movie. Loved Iron Man. Loved the comics. Loved Robert Downey Jr.
Mhm.
Yeah, compared to the newer movies, it does not age the greatest.
Mhm.
But I feel like they followed everything that had to do with Iron Man. I think it's up there.
Okay.
I don't want to. I mean, they started strong, they ended strong, type of thing.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's the best movie, but with what they had, I mean, it made Marvel relevant.
It was like you said the one that started it all. Which there's always a
Yeah.
little extra sentiment to that when it's the first of all of these, and
Yeah.
you see now looking back what it became,
Mhm.
and that it still relatively holds up, being 12 years ago that the movie came out.
Yeah,
So,
because you know, I just think of the whole like the garage scene when he's trying to work on it, and this
Mhm.
little robot that's a hand. I mean, it's just I don't know, so iconic. It's so good.
mhm. Now,
So I would.
what
I
tier would
put
you throw
that-
it in there?
Like I said, I don't want to jump out and say it's the best.
Okay.
But I think it's definitely good, and I think it's top of good.
So you would take it above Infinity War and the first Avengers movie. See, that's where the tiers get fun because then you have to start comparing.
All right, I would say underneath Infinity War, but above
First
no.
Avengers.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll stay. I'll
Okay.
stay with that.
Because you're also saying it's better than the first Captain America movie and Guardians 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now we get into Avengers Age of Ultron, which
I got no strings.
I personally would think this is at the top of likable. That may just be me. You may have a different opinion. I think it is just one notch away from being in the good tier. And the reason I say that is that's probably the one I've watched the most besides Endgame. I've watched that one probably second most out of all of them. And it would I watch it over the more I think about it, I would watch Age of Ultron over the first Captain America movie.
All right. So here's where I'm at.
Okay.
I just feel like I knew what they were trying to lead toward. And they had good characters in Quicksilver. I like the actor. I think it would have been good. Not spoiling the movies, but the boy didn't fare very well.
Yeah.
But
he stubbed his toe.
I don't know. I just feel like the villain was just not good. Like they could have done so much better.
Yeah.
But Ultron just itself was not good because. All right, here's where I'm nitpicky, and this is where I'm going to completely shit on the third Iron Man movie when we get there. Because Iron Man, the dude's in the comics, the suit never gets destroyed. It is always together, like he is Iron Man. That's what it is. I feel like that is where Robert Downey Jr. tried to have a power trip and was like, no, me as Tony Stark is more important as me and Iron Man. We get my face out there, not the suit. Because, he just, would switch suits around and things would get trashed. So, I just did not like how scrappable that it was. And that's just me being, a hardcore, comic book fan with Iron Man. I mean, I'm not so much anymore. So, all you haters in the comments, let's be real. I don't have time to read them anymore. Just growing up, that was always my thing. I'm gonna save the rest of my gripes for the third movie when we get there. But Age of Ultron, I just feel like, you hinted at Captain America being able to hold the
Mjolnir
hammer. Good on you. You brought Vision alive. Okay, fine. I'm not a huge Vision fan, but that's just me. I love the actor who plays him. I just don't like his character arc.
I see this movie as a setup movie for a lot of things down the line.
I mean, I do. I agree because it set up,
it sets up
Civil War.
It sets up Civil War. It sets up even Infinity War with the suit of armor that guards the world. Basically, they even touch on it at the beginning of Endgame. I mean, and then even the what's it called? We already talked about it, the Civil War part, but
yeah,
I think it just sets up a lot of things that we didn't appreciate first watching it, but it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense when we watch movies down the line because okay, they hinted at it here, and the whole idea of setting up points later down the line. I think that's my appreciation for it because I'm big into little details. Kind of like with wrestling and stuff. If you pay attention and you see the little things and you get rewarded later down the line, it makes you feel good. It makes you it makes me want to pay attention more and look at the little things because they actually mean something instead of just being a throwaway.
Yeah, but you gotta admit, the villain is laughable, and just the way they make it.
At times,
So,
I feel like it's hit or miss with them.
I guess they never met. I mean, sorry.
All right, TikTok wonder.
I don't even watch TikTok. Don't even. So basically, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that movie. I will say that. So, I mean, you would probably put it in one of the good categories. I would put it in.
I would put it in likable or not okay. Likable or not okay is what I was thinking.
Likable at best, but I'm saying not okay. Not okay with me.
Since we don't have one in the not okay, we'll throw it there because agree to disagree. And I feel like there are a decent amount of people that are on either side of it. So we can come back and talk about that near the end.
Okay.
Next we have Guardians 1, which I would also... Are you serious?
It's up there, man. I'm telling you. I went into that movie going, what in the world? It's a Marvel movie. What are they doing with this? I don't know any of these characters. And left it going, I'm going to watch this movie so many times.
See, I had an opposite reaction to this. I had a, when is this going to be over? This is incredibly long and boring. Which I hate to say, but in the few times I've watched it, because I've tried to go back and see if I just was in a weird mood that night or just wasn't seeing something, I just not a fan of it. It's just way too. I guess there were long stretches where I was just like, okay, this is kind of boring, not super interested, that kind of stuff.
Nope.
Nope. See where you think it should go.
I'm telling you, it should be at very least in the good category.
Okay.
I'm sorry, like.
Which,
I
of
am
course, I think I
Groot.
am in the
I am
minority on
Team
that
Groot.
on that
I am
idea.
Team Groot.
I'm Team Rocket, just because
Oh, yeah.
raccoons are the superior.
Team Rocket
Species.
blasting off again. I mean,
Wow. Alrighty.
no, but no, like I'm serious. I liked that movie. It just opened it up because everybody, when you think of Marvel, I mean, people are going, "Oh, I know the Avengers and everything," and through like, who are these Guardians of the Galaxy? What is this? And just that was when Marvel started like playing up more of the comedy and.
Which is something they didn't really go into a ton, besides just a little with Thor.
Yeah. You gotta sit here and think about like what movie has anyone sitting there going, "Man, I need to get the CD from this Captain America movie." No,
True.
but like everyone's like, "I didn't even know the song." Like "Hooked on a Feeling." I'm sorry, who before that movie came out under the age of 20 knew what that song was and was like.
It got a lot of people from the 80s and 90s because of the music selection. It hooked a lot of people on that, which I think was the demographic they were. I think that was the demographic they were going for, and like I said, I think I am in the minority on my stance on this movie. So, yeah, where at in the good tier do you think it would go? Because I'll trust you on this one, because I think you speak for more people than I do.
I mean, remind me of what we got.
Because it's not above Guardians 2. That is it.
Yes,
it's
yes,
what?
Yes.
So you're saying it's better than the first Captain America and Guardians 2?
Yes.
Is it better than Avengers?
I love that movie. Yes, I love that movie.
Okay, I will fight you on that one.
love
It
that
is not
movie.
better than the first Avengers movie.
Sorry, I love that movie.
I'm throwing it behind Avengers real quick.
Fine, but
we'll talk, because is it better than the first Iron Man?
I love that movie. I mean, it's just like the first movie. Like, I liked them because they were superhero movies, but it was the first movie that like I enjoyed. And because I'll be honest with you, like, there's very few Marvel movies, and I'm a Marvel fan. There's very few Marvel movies that I've seen like more than once. Guardians of the Galaxy, I will admit, like in college, I'd put that in multiple times and watch it.
Interesting.
So, but okay, I'll succumb to you for now.
Okay. Now we get into, which this one, if it's not best tier, I will be very upset. Civil War.
Best tier.
It has to be in the best tier. Now, is it better than Ragnarok to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm unbiased. I'm biased though, so like, don't even like get mad at me for this.
Oh, you're fine.
It's my boy Spidey.
It is the introduction of Spidey, and that was a massive moment with getting the partner deal with Sony to allow him in there.
Yep.
And is it better than Winter Soldier to you?
I mean,
because
no, like honestly, like I'm gonna take it seriously. No. But because there were some parts on it that was kind of dry, like
at times, yes.
But
the whole end sequence.
Yeah, the introduction to Spider-Man, the end sequence, everything. Like, I mean, just it's not as good. Like Captain America: Winter Soldier was just a classic. Like that's where I feel like
I do think, coming back to the like little inklings that they set up and then they answer with down the line, with
Mhm.
Spider-Man holding up the arm or whatever, the building, and
Yeah.
he'd be like, "So where are you from?" Brooklyn, or no, from Queens. And Cap looks at him and is like, "Brooklyn," and walks away. And then during the fight sequence in Endgame, where he says, "Hey Queens, catch," and throws Mjolnir at him. It's just
Yeah.
little things like that that they can implement later down the line that it just makes me feel good for
You mean
paying
he
attention.
threw the gauntlet at him, not Mjolnir, because
No, he Spider-Man had the gauntlet and he was stuck, so he threw Mjolnir and it took him away.
That's right.
Yeah, Tess and I
That's
watched
right.
that last night.
That's right.
Yeah. Now this next one, Captain Marvel. 'Cause everything I've seen, it's no in between. It is literally, it's either in the best tier or it's what was that. I'm more in the middle. I'm more in the middle
I'm
than
more on
most.
the what was that, because they sold it as it was needed to be seen,
Mm-hmm.
and like, yeah, okay, yeah, she's a badass girl, I get it. I think Brie Larson played a good Captain Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
but I just feel like it wasn't needed.
It,
mean,
it felt
just like,
shoehorned in there right before Endgame. Was it before? It
yeah,
was before Endgame, right?
yeah, like
It felt shoehorned.
shoehorned in. It's like, oh, we're gonna have this person in the Avengers, so we need you to know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like it got a huge push because in the comics you've seen more women superhero, which is perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it got kind of, we need to introduce that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, it just feels like they're building up all the Avengers, and it's just like in one movie they're like, hey, yeah, this person's better than all of them.
That was
I just
my
feel-
complaint with it, in that everything felt so organic with growing each character. And then once they
Yeah.
get to Captain Marvel, it's like, oh, hey, quick, here's somebody. Oh, yeah, she's on the level with everyone. You could
Yeah.
believe it, but it was a lot harder to believe. Because if you knew the comics, you knew she's obviously top of the list
Yeah.
when it comes to power.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it felt really rushed and it didn't feel organic. I
Mhm.
understand why they did it, but I wish they would have released it a movie or two before and maybe had her show up in another movie just as a cameo or something like that. But it's,
Yeah, like, I think the movie's likable.
I would say
'Cause-
likable too. I would
Yeah.
throw it above the first Thor, but I don't know if I'd put it above Doctor Strange.
No, I wouldn't put it above Doctor Strange. I like Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I just, not saying Captain Marvel wasn't a bad movie. Yeah.
The movie itself was good, but the timing of it
Yeah.
and what it meant in the whole arc of all of them, I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest issue with it.
Yeah.
All right, next we have the first Ant-Man movie.
Loved it. I loved it.
Would you throw it? Because I feel
No,
relatively the
wouldn't.
same.
I wouldn't throw it like anywhere major.
Mhm.
I would put it in if there's a spot in good tier, it could be pushed back to likable.
Mhm.
I liked it a lot just because I think Paul Rudd was good for it. It was
Mhm.
again more on the comedy side. I've liked when Marvel has gone like more to the comedy side of the movies.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of like my stance. Like, I feel like it's a good movie. Like,
Mhm.
it's good, and my wife loves it, and she hates Marvel superhero movies. So
Well, probably just because Paul Rudd.
it's just because she just, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, is it better or worse than Captain Marvel?
Better Captain Marvel. Better.
Doctor Strange,
Better.
Black Panther,
I don't know.
Iron Man 2.
Better.
Okay, is it better than Captain America: First Avenger?
No.
Okay, so then it'd be top of likable.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. Now this one, I think you'll agree with me on. I think some people are going to be very upset with this one. Spider-Man: Homecoming, end of best tier for me.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it did such a good job. And little hot take here. We're going to throw a poll up top, so if you made it this far in the video and you want to vote, I think this Spider-Man's better than the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah,
If you
I agree.
if you disagree with me or agree with me, there'll be a little poll above my head. So
I
I
feel
yeah.
I agree with you. I feel like it was a good choice of a villain that hasn't been used in any of
Mhm.
the movies before.
It's fresh. It was
I
fresh for the character.
feel like this is the most believable high school version
Mhm.
yet. They've made some different choices from the comic books, but I feel like those were fresh chase. Like, cause I mean that's big with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is definitely with the new kind of Marvel lovers. It's always with the
Mhm.
younger crowd.
Which is he's the most relatable
Whether
to him.
yeah, whether it's like yeah, my age, which is Peter Parker all the way, and then you've got younger than me, starts going to Miles Morales,
Mhm.
which again, nothing wrong with that.
Which I am very much looking forward to if they do a like Spider-Verse movie type deal, like live action. I am very looking forward
Um,
to a Miles Morales. I think that'd be
this
awesome.
is my speculation. I think the next Doctor Strange movie is what's gonna
Kind of
like
bring that into light.
yeah, and
I
you
hope
know
I
what?
hope you're right.
You know what? And I'm gonna say this.
Mhm.
I hope that Marvel somehow sees this video with all your
All
grandeur,
19 subscribers.
and I hope that they see when I say, please put Tobey Maguire in it as a younger Peter
Yes.
Parker. Please do that.
Oh no, not as a younger Peter Parker, as the older Peter
No, I'm
Parker.
sorry, as the older Peter Parker.
Yeah.
We'd all love it.
It would be
I
such
don't think he's doing anything.
it would be such a Marvel thing to do. To do an old
Yeah.
Peter Parker, Tom Holland as the current one, Miles Morales as the up and comer. I really think that'd be super super cool.
I mean, I
Heck,
feel
if they
like
even wanted to do
Miles-
a cameo with like the original Spider-Man voice from the what was it, the '60s cartoon?
you got to make them all stand there and point at each other. Though.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that'd
I
be
mean,
a really
I feel
cool
like
fan service.
Miles Morales is gonna be a thing
Hmm.
because they've already like hinted at it with having
The game coming out.
well, Childish Gambino, because I can't think of his non-rapper name, was his uncle and was introduced in Homecoming.
Hmm.
And for those who didn't catch that,
Donald Glover.
so,
Not Donald
yeah,
Glover. Is it Donald Glover? I was thinking Danny Glover. Sorry,
it's Donald Glover.
it is Donald Glover. I think Danny Glover from the I think it's a Predator movie. He's in one of those type deals.
Oh, from Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, from Lethal Weapon. Because I think he did. I remember him from. I think it was the second Predator movie.
Yeah. So that's where like I feel like they're gonna go to Miles Morales, and I don't think it's a bad choice. I just think Tom Holland is just Spider-Man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he does a lot of his own stunts. He spoils the movies before they come out.
Yes.
Um,
Which I really think if they're going to do something, I'm with the next movie I'm a little worried because I know they've shown signs of throwing Venom in there, which of course I would like. They've also thrown the idea of a new Spider-Man taking over the reins since, spoiler if you haven't seen the new movie, but with him being ousted as Spider-Man, the idea of a new Spider-Man taking over, and the idea of Miles doing that. And I'm really worried that they're going to pull a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 and have a bunch of villains and a bunch of new content thrown into one movie to where they don't get their own spotlight. It's going to feel cluttered. It's not going to feel like each part of the recipe gets its own spotlight and time to really make a meaning for it.
I mean, obviously, I am no expert when it comes to Marvel movies, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I think that it all depends on how the relationship between Sony and Disney goes. If it goes sour, I
Mhm.
think you're going to see someone take over the reins. I think that, like you said, that will happen.
Mhm.
Now, I think if it's a good relationship, what I could see happening is tying in Doctor Strange and using one of the stones to kind of break everybody's memory,
Mhm.
so they all forget,
Mhm.
and then kind of set up, because I think Mysterio is going to be back.
Oh yeah, I don't think he's dead.
Um,
I don't think he's
'cause
dead from the first movie or from the second movie.
No, he's not at all. I feel like they have they have yet to do a Sinister Six Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd be a great one in it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
but
As you hear my dog barking in the background, Iron Man 3, which I know you are going to tear into.
oh, hate it.
I
It
w-
needs to be on the worst of the all lists,
I
and
would
I will
t-
fight you over it.
I will throw it in just because where it would even out how much I like it and you like it. Because I have heard a lot of bad things. We'll put it in not okay below Age of Ultron.
I want the lowest it can be.
Worse than the first Hulk or the only Hulk movie.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I loved this movie.
I
And
hated this.
and
movie.
let me try to sway you. And this is
No,
the reason I love this
Not
movie.
happening. It's not gonna happen.
What is it about superhero movies that people can relate to? Because I mean, it is superheroes, it is larger than life characters, things that normally wouldn't happen. People getting bit by a spider and they have powers, serum that makes them the strongest person, all this kind of stuff. Subtle subcontext that can relate to people. Now, what I love all about the Marvel movies in general is the fact that they take these characters and they can make it relatable to an everyday person. So, like Hulk, for example. No one's actually going to be a big green dude with muscles that can throw things and destroy, like, towers. But he's someone that deals with anger issues and his own battles with trying to deal with that himself.
I feel like you're gonna go through this long journey of trying to make this movie righteous, and I'm gonna just be like, it's a no for me, dog. Like, I'm sorry.
Okay. So,
Because hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
I'm gonna say my piece because I feel like yours is gonna be way longer.
mm-hmm.
My piece, I already touched on. Basically, he's making all of his like armor, like basically they don't mean anything. Why
Mhm.
be Iron Man? Because your suits can't not break. That's bullshit. Sorry, when it comes to it. I think that there is some redeeming parts in it. I think the little kid in there,
Mhm.
showing them that be relatable. So fine.
Th-
All right.
this is
The villain.
mhm.
The oh, I'm gonna look it up so I don't say it wrong. So that the haters.
Mhm.
Iron Man villain. Because it's like Mandalorian, but I don't want to say Mandalorian because
The
Star Wars.
the Mongolian, I believe.
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin.
All right. So the Mandarin is supposed to
I know
be
where you're going with this one.
the arch enemy of Iron Man in all the comics. That is his main bad guy. When you look at it, you got Captain America has the Red Skull. First Avenger movie, they did it justice.
Mhm.
Thor is his brother Loki. We
Mhm.
all have seen what happened there. Okay? Hulk has his anger issues.
Mhm.
We've all seen what happens there. I mean, like, you have all these. I'm sorry. Making it a drugged out hipster little actor man is your Mandarin. No, you just took Iron Man's arch enemy and you made him nothing. Like
It was definitely a swerve. I will give you
like
that.
Mickey Rourke wielding two electric batons was more believable than the Mandarin. And that's saying something because you could barely understand anything he said.
True. But here, I'll throw one more example out and then I'll tell you about Iron Man. Why I like this movie.
All right.
So we've already talked about Hulk, anger issues relating that to normal people. Thor, his relatable thing is that he is struggling with not destiny, but like living up to a namesake, which a lot of people can do. If your parents are very successful, you have anyone in your family that's very successful, you feel that pressure to live up to that name, live up to what you're supposed to be, which I think that's what make makes Thor relatable to the normal person, even though he's God of Thunder, all that stuff. Iron Man. He's famous, rich, top of the world. But his own pride gets in the way of mental health with the PTSD from the first Avengers movie falling out of the wormhole.
Yeah.
I think with what you're talking about with, it goes away from the roots of, he's just switching suits, he doesn't care, they get destroyed. I think that was used as a way to show how spiraled out of control he was at that point, because those were his babies in the first movies. He was so happy to work on them, tinker with them, he loved them. But then I thought it was a plot device to show this is how messed up in the head and how his pride has gotten in the way, because he doesn't care about him anymore. And what do you see from that movie on? He always has a suit with him. He puts it on his chest where he can just double tap it and he's good. It shows, I think, the character growth when it comes to pride can get in the way of a lot of mental health stuff for a lot of people. People don't want to say anything, do anything about it. They think they're okay. And it took a character that was a millionaire, basically a billionaire, rock star, superhero, and created a real life problem that not even a billionaire superhero could fix. And that's why I liked it, because it took such, what I thought was getting a little out of control with the Iron Man movies, was like, okay, where do they go from here? They brought it back in a way without damaging the overall arc of Iron Man, to me at least.
See, here's the thing. They could have done it so much better. And I guess that's because in the comics you have him where he just says, I'm done with Iron Man, and that's the whole Secretary of Defense. He becomes the Secretary of Defense, and then he enacts the codes that lead to Civil War. So you have that arc that he could have done. You have the arc where he had Iron Man show up when Tony Stark was there, just to kind of show like, oh, see, he actually isn't Iron Man. So like you could have had so many things. I get what you're saying, yeah, and like it set things up in the future. I just think it took everything that was Iron Man. So you've got the first movie is his old suit is what's used against him and stuff. Fine. I feel like you're trying to build him up. You don't want to throw the best villain out there. Okay. The second movie, they picked Whiplash, which, like, come on. You have the Mandarin. Everyone's like, oh, when are they going to do the Mandarin? And then they do the Mandarin, and it's just like, why'd you even touch it? Because you've taken his arch enemy and done nothing with it. So
I think they could have done something else for the Mandarin and saved that for later. That'd be like taking the Green Goblin for Spider-Man. Because like I'm not gonna defend it on all things. That's like taking the Green Goblin from Spider-Man and just throwing him away as a joke character.
Yeah.
They could have. I don't agree with that decision. They could have used something else to be that kind of ploy in the movie and not use the best villain in the comics for him. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
so
I'm gonna be. I liked. If this says anything, I liked the second new Star Wars movie way more than that Iron Man. And
which I think I'm in the minority for this. I love all the recent Star Wars movies they put out. I don't have a single issue with them.
The Mary Poppins scene where she's just like, I'm gonna force fly through the space. And like, no.
Yeah, that was a little odd.
I like that scene more than the whole Iron Man 3 movie. I'm kidding, by the way.
I was hoping.
It's not that terrible, but just...
Do you want to put it in not okay?
Yeah.
Hearing all the stuff you said, I will put it below Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a good place. We've both set our sides on it. I think that'd be a good middle ground.
Fine.
Now, this one I don't think we're going to argue with at all. Thor: The Dark World. What? Is it worse than the first Hulk movie?
No.
It's not worse. Okay. So we'll
No.
put it above that Hulk movie if this will fix it. Yeah, there you
I
go.
mean, at least it sets up that the red mist is supposed to be one of the stones. So
Yeah.
no.
It did
the
some
Dark
plot setup,
Elves.
but it was just so bad. It was so
Yeah,
bad.
like the Dark Elves, like.
Now,
What?
Spider-Man Far From Home is the last one before we do our last second changes and everything. This one, it was good. Wasn't as good as the first one to me.
Ooh.
I liked a large part of it. I'm not saying it's that much worse. I would argue it's at either right below, because it's either one or on this. It's either right below Infinity War or right after the first Spider-Man movie. Those are the two places I'm thinking in my head right now.
I don't know. I just felt like there was so much to the Spider-Man movie. I mean, because they were trying to build off because Spider-Man is notorious. Like Spider-Man 2 and most of this franchises, whether it's Tobey Maguire, whether it's Andrew Garfield, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're always known for like not being anywhere near and I feel like it did everything it could to set up the because you've got so many different plot lines with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the whole he's trying to live up to being Tony Stark. Tony Stark is this,
Mm-hmm.
high pedestal that he has to be now. And I just feel like it had the comedy from the kids, it had,
The
a
love
good
interest that finally
villain.
got thrown in there a little bit more, progressed that part of the story. Which, speaking on this is the most recent of them, so it's like we don't have the ability to look back and see all the things that it set up. Kind of like what I talked about with the Age of Ultron movie. We can look back and see all the things that it did for future movies, foreshadowing stuff, that kind of aspect. But
Yeah.
this is being the newest one. We don't have that luxury, and just off face value, I think it's either the last one in best or the second one in good. Which I know that's a weird
I
putting
think
Infinity War in between, but
I think it has to be best because
and I'm not gonna argue with you on that one. Those are just the two ones that popped into my
'cause
head on it.
I feel like it was a solid movie
Mhm.
and it broke so many records
Mm-hmm.
like for the Sony like obviously it did not touch Endgame. I
Oh
get that.
God, no. Well, they had to re-release it just for that.
Yeah, but yeah, but it just had so many good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I really really enjoyed that movie. I thought the twist with having Mysterio help him as much as he did to begin with, like.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you know the comics, you knew Mysterio was going to be bad, but like the way they did it,
It created
just-
anticipation in it for people that knew what the
Yeah.
Mysterio character was, because you're like, well, he's helping him out now, but we all know that he's going to turn on him eventually. So we were looking like,
Yeah.
okay, when is the turn? When is it gonna happen?
yeah, and then like had like it brought the scrolls in it,
Mm-hmm.
which then they
Connects
can
it to
then-
future movies.
I mean, well, that like they could use that to bring back Tony. I mean, like no one's really been saying it a lot, but Tony did his final sacrifice. I think that's a great way to
Mhm.
write off that character. Spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen it by this point, then don't click on the
but-
video.
But the scrolls, like by showing the end of the movie, again, spoiler, that Nick Fury didn't die, and he's just up there with the scrolls, like on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say Tony's not there too? Who's to say that it wasn't a scroll that did the final? I think
that might be a
would-
little
I think it would
stretchy. Little
it would
stretch.
dampen it, but it opens up if Marvel's hurting, they can bring back him to be Tony Stark.
Which I really think that they're eventually gonna do with it is they're gonna pull like the Tony's back thing, but it's gonna be a scroll, and they're really just gonna play. He's not actually gonna be back. I think they're gonna use it as like a thing against. I don't
Because
know.
the whole
Probably
the whole
Spider-Man.
Civil War 2, the whole second Civil War in the comic series is all about the scrolls being in charge. Like they are the president and all that, they're scrolls, and so that's where Captain Marvel leads people to attack, and like so they think superheroes are attacking, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like they can do that story. There's so many different places where I just feel like Far From Home was just a solid movie.
Hmm.
And that's where like it wasn't a lot of fan service, you know.
But we don't know that yet. It could be fan
Well,
service setting us up. We don't
well,
know yet.
yeah. So like it brought some things back, like bringing back Joe Jam,
J. Jonah
J,
Jameson. Ugh,
yeah.
that's a tongue twister in
And
itself.
the same, you know, like it matched like the video game style, like that everyone's loving.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I really had a soft spot for the Spider-Man movies. I love Spider-Man,
Hmm.
but I agree with you. Like on the magnitude yet, I don't think it's as high as Endgame
Hmm.
or that, but definitely needs to be the best.
Hmm. Okay, so that was the last one. So I'll read these off for you real quick and see if you have any issues with them. So we got Endgame number 1. This is going to be the best tier first. Endgame, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Civil
Mhm.
War, Ragnarok, Homecoming, and then Far From Home. Any issues on the placement of that?
No,
Nope. Okay. For the good tier,
do you?
I think it's fine the way that it is for that one. Well, there might be a couple we can switch around here in the lower tiers, but for good, we have Infinity War, first Iron Man, first Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, then the first Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those that you'd switch around, drop, or bring up?
No,
You wouldn't switch
I
any of
know
the
you.
orders?
I know you'd switch the Guardians of the Galaxy, but
That's
no.
I can see your argument for it because like I said before, I'm in the minority on I think 2 being the better of the two, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any issues with that. The one thing I do think I would change, uh, actually no, I was gonna say maybe drop the first Captain America down to likable, and bringing up a movie like like Ant-Man or Iron Man 2, and swapping it.
No, not for Iron Man 2. Um,
Would you switch
Ant-Man
Ant-Man in it?
potentially, yeah.
Okay, or we don't even have to swap it. We could bring now that we get into the likable ones, we can bring Ant-Man up to good if you would think it'd be
I,
there.
yeah, because I mean, Ant-Man it was a good movie.
It was a solid one. So we'll throw that at the back end of good, and then for likable now we have Iron Man 2, then Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, and then the first Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Just fine that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Now for the not okay, we have Age of Ultron and then Iron Man 3, which I know you would want to drop 3, but
I think that's a good okay list. Yeah.
okay. And then Dumb, Ant-Man and the Wasp, would you drop that at all or would you keep it there?
I think it's there because, like I said, I haven't seen all of it.
How about
I think
this?
it's important because it kind of sets up the whole van thing. Like
For
I know that
yeah.
I know that part, and it brought back some characters that, but like yeah, just
How about this? We throw Ant-Man and the Wasp above Thor Dark World and what? And we bring Iron Man 3 down to Dumb. Because when I think of Dumb, I think of certain things that don't make sense for the character.
yeah.
And that would
I
be
like that.
something that makes sense. Because now we have
I
3
like
in the
that.
what? Because Ant-Man and the Wasp was just what is this?
Yeah,
Same with Dark World and the first Hulk or the Hulk movie.
I like that.
So I think this is what we agree on. I think this is a decent list. If you guys have any different suggestions or comments that you guys want to talk about specific ones, why it should be in a higher tier or lower tier, go ahead and drop it down in the comments. But yeah, I think that should be it. Thank you guys for stopping by the video. Like I said in the video, if any of you guys have any arguments as to why a movie should be higher or lower, or you just want to argue with us on our stance on a movie, go ahead and drop a comment down there. Big shout out to Matt for showing up for the video. We're hopefully going to be doing quite a few more of those together. Got some gameplay and stuff like that. So if you guys have any suggestions for future video types, games you want to see us play, anything like that, go ahead and leave a comment on there. And thank you for stopping by. Peace.